Donald Trump has built a political brand on strong anti-immigration rhetoric, but what if I told you his own story is deeply rooted in immigration? His grandparents came from Germany, his mother from Scotland, and 2 of his 3 wives moved to the US from Eastern Europe. So, let's rewind and take a closer look. According to biographer Gwenda Blair, the Trump family goes way back to a German lawyer named Hans Drumpf, who settled in the village of Karlstadt in the early 1600s. Yes, Drumpf. That was the original surname. It was later changed to Trump during the chaos of the 30 Years' War. Fast forward a couple centuries and we get to Donald Trump's grandfather, Friedrich Trump, born in Karlstadt in 1869.
This is the birth certificate of Donald Trump's grandfather, born in 1869, close to Bad Dürkheim, right? Yeah.
That's called
and
serious.
His Christian name was Friedrich.
Right. That's serious German.
Serious
right?
German name.
Friedrich didn't exactly leave Germany on great terms. In 1885, at just 16 years old, he boarded a ship to America without having fulfilled the required 2 years of military service in the Kingdom of Bavaria. That made his departure illegal under Bavarian law. According to Blair, people from the Pfalz region, where Friedrich was born, were desperate to escape generations of war, poverty, and foreign invasions.
Well, the people in Karlstadt are very reliable, strong people. And I feel that about myself.
When Friedrich arrived in the US, he didn't speak much English and had no formal occupation. Records list him as having none. But that didn't stop him. By the 1890s, he was speculating in real estate in Seattle. And during the Klondike Gold Rush, he really struck gold by opening a restaurant and, allegedly, a brothel catering to miners in the Yukon. Yep, that's where the Trump fortune began. In 1901, Friedrich went back to Germany and married a young woman from his hometown, Elizabeth Christ. But their plans to settle down there hit a wall. Because Friedrich had left Germany without completing military service, the Bavarian government stripped him of his citizenship in 1905. So he packed up his wife and returned to America. Elizabeth Christ Trump, Donald's grandmother, was now an immigrant herself, and she reportedly never fully adjusted to life in the US. The couple even tried moving back to Germany at one point, but were turned away. Back in Queens, Friedrich ran a restaurant and started acquiring real estate. Sadly, he died young, just 49 years old, during the 1918 flu pandemic, leaving behind his wife, Elizabeth, and their young children, including Fred Trump, who would go on to become Donald's father.
My father is German, right? Was German. And born in a very wonderful place in Germany.
Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Fred Trump, despite being raised in a German-speaking household, told people for years that he was of Swedish descent. This wasn't just some quirky family myth. After World War II, when anti-German sentiment ran high, Fred actively hid his roots, and Donald repeated that version in his book, The Art of the Deal.
In The Art of the Deal, Donald Trump wrote this about his father. Fred Trump was born in New Jersey in 1905. His father, who came here from Sweden as a child. But the truth is, Donald Trump's grandfather came from Germany.
So it wasn't until much later that Donald embraced the German connection.
You know, I'm proud to have that German blood. There's no question about it. Great stuff.
But the Trump family immigration tale doesn't stop there. Donald's mother, Mary Ann MacLeod, came from the Isle of Lewis in Scotland. She arrived in the US in 1930 at age 17 with just $50 in her pocket, less than $1,000 in today's money, and moved in with her sister in Queens.
Your mother got on a ship in 1930, Transylvania, from Glasgow.
Very young.
Mary worked as a domestic servant for several years, a fact that some sources describe rather bluntly. She was dirt poor, escaping even worse poverty back home in Scotland, which had been hit hard by the clearances in World War I.
She was 18, maybe 19, and she met my father and they were married very happily for many decades. Very good marriage.
Mary Ann's immigration status? She entered the country legally with the intent to stay permanently, and later became a naturalized US citizen. And guess what? Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana, was also an immigrant. Born in Czechoslovakia, she married an Austrian ski instructor, which helped her get an Austrian passport. That opened the door for her to move to Canada, and eventually the US, where she became a citizen in 1988, nearly a decade after marrying Donald. Now let's talk about another immigrant in Trump's life, his current wife, Melania. In 2016, the Associated Press dropped a bombshell. They claimed Melania Trump may have broken immigration law when she first came to the US in 1996.
And I came to United States, to New York, in 1996.
According to their investigation, she entered on a tourist visa but started working as a model before getting a proper work visa. Now, immigration rules can be tricky. What's legal and what's not isn't always crystal clear.
I came here on visa. I flew to Slovenia every few months to stamp it.
Melania's own words kind of back up the idea that she came to the US on a tourist visa. She mentioned flying to Slovenia every few months to stamp it, which suggests she had a visa that needed regular updates. The thing is, a tourist visa like that doesn't actually let you work in the US. So this raises some questions about how she was able to work as a model during that time.
Because I believe that we need to be very vigilant who is coming to the country.
So here's what the AP found. Melania arrived in August 1996 on a B1/B2 tourist visa, which let her stay in the US for 6 months but didn't allow her to work. Then on October 18th, she officially got an H-1B visa, which made her employment legal. Sounds fine, right? Well, not quite, because according to the records, she had already been paid for 10 modeling jobs between September 10th and October 15th. In other words, she was working while still on a tourist visa, which technically was a violation. Fun fact, Donald Trump has been a vocal critic of the H-1B visa, calling it a tool to undercut American workers. In 2016, he even vowed to end forever the use of the H-1B as a cheap labor program. Given that Melania herself once held one, you have to wonder, was that an awkward conversation at home?
Well, do I agree all the time with him? No, I don't. And I tell him that.
Before jumping to conclusions, let's think about this. Melania might not have known she was breaking the rules. The 90s fashion scene in New York was full of models working in a gray area, with agencies not exactly spelling out the legal stuff. It was common for models to come on tourist visas without realizing they weren't allowed to work. Or she might not have been paid at all, just posing for exposure to build her career.
We were making this kind of magazine to have exposure, and this exposure was bringing you to the next level to have catalog, campaign, and everything.
But there's also the other side of the coin. What if she did know and did get paid? That could mean visa fraud. However, Melania and the Trump team have firmly denied any wrongdoing, claiming she followed all the legal steps. In 2016, she tweeted a letter from her attorney saying he checked her records and confirmed she entered the US legally in 1996 and followed visa rules. With 100% certainty, I correctly went through the legal process, she wrote.
I follow the law. I follow a law the way it's supposed to be. I never thought to stay here without papers.
Still, doubts lingered, as no full documentation was ever released. But controversy or not, her career in the 90s was moving full speed ahead. Then came her big break in 1998, when Paolo Zampoli introduced her to Donald Trump.
We met in New York. It was a fashion week and it was a party, big party, so we met there.
Now, Trump, with his flashy reputation, didn't exactly sweep Melania off her feet right away. In fact, she famously didn't give him her number immediately.
So he asked me for the number and I said, I will not give you my number. So if you give me your numbers, I will call you.
Classic move, Melania. And it turns out Trump fell for this trick not once, but twice. His first wife, Ivana, also didn't give him her number right away. Looks like Trump has a thing for a little mystery.
I don't know what is Melania's problem. She just has to get over it. She's First Lady of America, but I'm First Lady Trump. Excuse me.
Their relationship started off a bit unconventional. I mean, Trump was even talking about universal health care, which is definitely not what you'd expect from him. But as Melania got to know him, she realized he was serious about running for president one day.
I have been with Donald for 18 years, and I have been aware of his love for this country since we first met.
Meanwhile, in 2000, Melania set her sights on something big. She applied for the EB-1 visa, aka Einstein visa.
She received a so-called Einstein visa, possibly. because when she told her friends she was dating Donald Trump, they said, "Way to go, Einstein."
To qualify, applicants have to show proof of major achievements or meet 3 out of 10 specific criteria that demonstrate excellence in their field. This could include media coverage, groundbreaking contributions, or having work showcased in major exhibitions. The EB-1 is typically awarded to high achievers like Pulitzer, Oscar, or Olympic winners, respected researchers, and top executives. And guess what? By 2001, she was one of just 5 Slovenians to score this prestigious visa that year. Wow, she must have been an absolutely outstanding model to earn such recognition.
I obeyed the law. I did it the right way. I didn't just sneak in and stay here.
At the time, Melania was still modeling in New York and dating Trump. Definitely a big step up. But even bigger things were on the horizon, becoming Mrs. Trump. They eventually tied the knot in a lavish 2005 ceremony, surrounded by flowers and celebrities, but almost none of Melania's old friends were there. Guess those high-profile guest lists come with a few trade-offs.
Did you feel different when they said man and wife?
No. I felt that it was just so natural.
In 2006, just a year after their wedding, Melania gave birth to their son, Baron.
I like my suitcase. I have to go to school now.
Yeah.
That same year, she became a U.S. citizen through the Einstein visa she'd secured earlier.
I was very proud to become citizens of the United States.
Now, as a U.S. citizen, she had the right to sponsor her parents, Victor and Amalia Knovs, who were sworn in as U.S. citizens in 2018. Pretty full circle, right?
But do you think people should be able to bring in their mother and their father?
Yes, of course.